מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אחסר. בינות אשר ירביצני על מי מנוחות ינחלני. נפשי שובב. ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגצל מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. תשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדיפוני, כל ימי חיי. בשבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. I've chanted for you the words of our 23rd Psalm. In these most difficult times, on days when our hearts are aching and when we are in search of comfort and some source of solace, we often will turn to the psalmist, seeking comfort and peace. And so I ask you now to recite these words with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as he lives, so long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember Maurice Zryl. To his daughter Sarah, also to you, Kurt, to his children, his beautiful other children, Missy and Amiel, Lori and Todd, and to his grandchildren, Alexandria, Gabriella, Elijah, and Ian, and Ryan. And today, our hearts join together as we lovingly remember his granddaughter, Olivia, of blessed memory. And to all the members of the family, and to so many dear and cherished friends, we have come together today to remember, but also to celebrate the life of your beloved Maury. As so many of you know, Maury was not one to shy away from, we'll say, a full house. He liked when the room was packed, and so I do want to invite any of our friends who are not yet seated to not feel uncomfortable. Please come up. There are a few seats in the front row. I know Maury would want me to invite you to do so, so please, as we continue the service, please make yourself comfortable. Our sages have taught us that birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity, and from youth to age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. All of us are miracles, and there are some whose existence is beyond miraculous. Maury's journey began in 1949. He was born in Marseille, France, and he was the only child born to Itzhak and Chaya Zryl. His parents were Polish Jews who survived the horrors of the Holocaust. Somehow, they made their way to France after the war, and Maury brightened their very dark world. Maury and his parents made Aliyah and went to Israel, and they lived there until he was about 9 years old. And then they moved here to Cleveland, where Maury first attended school at the Orthodox Jewish Day School, Hebrew Academy. He then continued at Roosevelt Junior High and Cleveland Heights High School. His high school friends knew and grew to love Maury as their classmate who was outgoing, social, a bit of a class clown. The guy who would make people laugh, and, of course, the guy always involved in whatever the prank of the day was. He was lovable and warm and funny. And his friends from his teenage days remained lifelong friends, and just last year, Maury, well, let's say he was really in his element, as he connected with so many of his friends at his 50th high school reunion. Following his high school graduation, Maury matriculated to Kent State University for 1 year, where he studied history. His college studies continued at Cuyahoga Community College, and it was here that Maury reconnected with one of his Heights High classmates, Fran Rosen. A courtship ensued, and in 1973 they were wed. Maury and Fran's marriage was blessed with the most precious and beautiful gift of all, and that, of course, their daughter, Sarah. Sarah, your dad's friends and family always told you, in recent days and throughout your whole life, in years growing up, they always told you that your dad would tell them that the day that your mom and dad brought you into their world, that this was the best day of your dad's life. You, Sarah, were his greatest joy. He loved talking with you. He especially loved talking about you, telling people of your achievements, your accomplishments. And Sarah, you have sweet childhood memories of a dad who would carve pumpkins with you and play outside with you. And you and your dad and your dog Manny, you were quite the trio, the Three Musketeers. Your dad inspired you with his love of movies. He was delighted when he would take his little girl as his +1 for various movie premieres and fundraisers. And you knew a dad who was never shy. He was always playful. And he would dress up to match whatever movie might be playing in his theater, most notably, from the pictures you showed me, those gangster outfits that he would wear when movies like The Godfather might be playing. Or the time, Sarah, that you remember your dad was showing Charlotte's Web, and in the lobby for weeks he had on display this adorable pig for Charlotte's Web, this little pet pig. For one of your birthday parties, your dad dressed up as a Care Bear, your favorite character of the time. And in your adult years, you came to know a father who was not afraid to speak his mind. It's safe to say he had his opinions, but he was always shooting from the hip, always honest. He preached his motto, his mantra, to you and to all who would listen. He would always say, live life to the fullest and be forever young. Your dad was thrilled about your upcoming marriage this fall to your beloved Kurt. And I believe if there's one thing he would remind you, one little phrase of wisdom that he would want to give you as you move forward, Sarah, into this next chapter of your life, is simply live life to the fullest. In 1994, Maury reunited with his junior high and high school sweetheart, Debbie Botnick, and they married in 1995. And Maury's family miraculously grew, and so did his love. Missy and Lori and their husbands, Amiel and Todd, each one of you had a very special place in Maury's heart. But friends, it was really the grandchildren that completely charmed or disarmed Maury. Sarah, as you shared with me, you said that your dad had this way with children. His fun and sometimes goofy demeanor could easily put any child at ease. And this was so true with the grandkids. Ryan, you enjoyed your talks with him, especially when it was a talk about the movies. You'd connect on the phone, on Facebook, sometimes in person as well, him in Florida, you in Youngstown, but you always knew that he was there for you and that he always had your back. And Ian and Elijah, your grandpa enjoyed spending time with you, but he especially loved being with you at your bar mitzvah celebrations. Alex and Gabriella, he looked forward to visits with you. He loved going to Cleveland Indians games with you. And Gabriella, I'm told that you and Grandpa Maury were so much alike that he would call you Mini-Me. And of course, Olivia, sweet Olivia of blessed memory. Sarah, the very first time she met your father, she looked at you and just said, I just love your dad. And he felt the same way about her. All the grandkids meant so much to Maury. And this was, of course, because he was family-oriented. So the birthday parties, the holidays, any reason at all to get together, these moments were very, very special to Grandpa Maury. When it comes to the industry of movies and entertainment and Maury, it's very challenging for me as to where to begin. But it's easy to say that Maury loved his work. As Sarah and I sat and spoke yesterday, I said that when we prepare a eulogy, we should be interested more in not what a person did to make a living, but what they did to make a life. But your father's career and his love of life were so tightly woven together. It's hard to distinguish where the career ended and the rest of his life began. Maury loved his work, and his career was not just something that he was good at, but something he believed in and loved. Making people happy through the medium of film and movies. Well, this is something that Maury found fulfilling. Here in Cleveland, the list of credits are wide-ranging. He ran the Colony Theater at Shaker Square and the Heights Art Theater, also known as the Centrum, here in Coventry. And as Maury lived in Florida for the past 20 years, he reestablished his career there with The Last Picture Show, a theater he named after one of his favorite films. In an article that was penned recently by Joe Morgus of Tamarack.com, it stated the following. The author writes, quote, "It's unusual for theater goers to know a theater owner, but Zryl was an exception. He took tickets at the theater door and would greet his loyal audience personally, asking them what film they chose to see at the theater multiplex. then be in the lobby following a showing to discuss the various films." End quote. Well, this was a man who loved his work. And he influenced the movie-going experience in Cleveland and in Tamarack, and because of his ongoing efforts, he was, in 1992, inducted into the Cleveland Heights High School Hall of Fame. In the late 1980s, Morey hosted a radio show here on WERE AM 1300. And Morey had written a book that he was working on getting published. The title of the book, From the Sidewalks of Cleveland, The Story of Cleveland Theaters. And Sarah, I know that you are committed to seeing its publication to fruition. I have to also share, as Sarah and I spoke yesterday, you shared some wonderful pictures. Most of them your father dressed up in costumes. But you were going through pictures, you as a child with him and your father in many stages of his life. And one picture you showed me, I went, "Oh my gosh, that's your dad with Wolfman Jack." And Sarah said, "Who's that?" So everyone, your homework assignment is to make sure Sarah knows who Wolfman Jack was. Let's just say Morey got around, and he had friends in all types of places. He loved Cleveland sports, the Browns, the Indians, and the Cavs. He loved a good salami. And he loved his kitty cats, which he referred to as his kids. And then there were his ties. Oh my goodness, over 100 ties, many of them with a humorous kind of theme, many of them with a movie theme. His smile, the twinkle in his eye, he was charming and heartwarming. He also had a very serious side. Being a child of survivors, Morey became an avid supporter of March of the Living, and he was very involved here in Cleveland with the Kol Yisrael Foundation, second generation, even serving as its president. And his involvement paid homage to the memories of his family members who were murdered at the hands of the Nazis, and he lost many family members. But his involvement was also to honor his loved ones, who somehow bravely and miraculously survived this horrible time in the history of our people. He attended Green Road services at the synagogue on Green Road with his parents. He really loved his Jewish heritage. He loved Israel. He loved the Jewish holidays. And Sarah, he was so proud of you becoming a bat mitzvah at the Temple Tifereth Israel. Morey's departure from this world has shocked many, and obviously left family and friends and co-workers who were his extended family. He's left everyone feeling devastated. But those who knew him and loved him knew him to be simply a true mensch and a gute neshama. Gute neshama meaning a good soul. A mensch is a much more difficult Yiddish phrase to describe, but it really means the highest quality that a human is capable of being. And this was Morey. We're taught by our tradition that words which come from the heart often enter to the heart, and at this time, I would like to call on his son-in-law, Todd, who has words in his heart he wants to share with all of us today.
I promise to keep this short, much like Morey was. Today they announced the Academy Award nominations. Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, and A Star is Born were all nominated. And I know that Morey is looking down and smiling about that. Some of you knew Morey as the godfather of the Cleveland movie scene. Many others knew him as the greatest showman. For me and my family, he will always be Grandpa Morey. We know he loved to read books. He loved Zryl. He loved movies, but I don't think he loved anything more than his family and friends. Morey was the type of person that if you were in need, he would help any way he could. Some of our favorite memories of Grandpa is when he came to surprise us at Disney. when Minnie-Me and her friends dared him to put ketchup on his chocolate chip pancakes and eat them, and of course he did, and then afterwards he was like, I should have used buffalo sauce. Because of his love of movies, my greatest memory will be of June of 2000. Maury, Debbie, and Lori came into my movie store because, believe it or not, Maury wanted to buy some movies. Now, to be fair, I had thought that Lori was cute for some time. But it was that day that I finally got up enough courage to ask Lori out. And for that is what I am most thankful for. So from Ryan, Alex, Gabby, Minnie-Me, as most of you know her, Lori and myself, thank you, and we love you and miss you, Grandpa.
Friends, before we conclude our service, I want to just let you know that the family will be receiving visitors today following the interment, which is at Zion Memorial Cemetery. They'll be receiving visitors at the Schneider residence on Faraday until 7 p.m. this evening, and also tomorrow from 1 until 4 p.m. Anyone wishing to make a donation, a contribution in memory of Maury, the family has asked that you consider two funds, both exceptionally close to Maury's heart. One is the March of the Living Foundation. For those of you who are not aware, this foundation helps to provide opportunities for adults, but especially teens, to visit Poland, to retrace the steps, to visit the camps, and to march from Birkenau to Auschwitz. And the other fund is a Make-A-Wish fund, specifically Olivia's Dream, a fund that was just recently established in memory of his 8-year-old granddaughter, Olivia. If you need more information on these funds, please just ask the family. With that being said, we take a moment of silence now as we offer our own special prayer, as we have our own sacred memories of this very special man, and as we ask God to accept Maury's soul. And as you are able, I invite you to rise for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, shochen bamromim, amseimenu chanechona tachat kanfei hashchina, b'malot kedoshim utorim, gezohar harakia masirim, et nishmat Moshe Shmuel ben Yitzchak v'chaya, shel halcha le'olama began eden demenuchata. Ahana b'harachamim astireha, b'seiter knafecha le'olamim, v'titror bitror achayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata, b'tanuach b'shalom, al mishkava v'nomar. Amen. O merciful God, who dwells on high, who is full of compassion, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament. To our dear departed, Morris, Maury, Zryl, who will be remembered by the Hebrew name of Moshe Shmuel ben Yitzchak v'chaya. To Maury, who has gone now to his eternal home, may his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and grant that his memory continue to inspire all of us to noble and consecrated living. And to this we say, Amen. Please be seated. Again, friends, I want to remind you that visitation is at 5720 Faraday Row in Lyndhurst, following the interment today until 7 p.m. and also tomorrow from 1 until 4 p.m. On behalf of Sarah and the entire family, we thank you for your love and support on this sad and important day.